Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Friday night, October 23rd live stream for studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins, founder of Student Loan Justice. We've been around for 15 years now, fighting only and absolutely for student loan borrowers. Now, I'm here to tell you, folks, by every reasonable metric and by every reasonable measure, this is now a failed, not just a failed, this is now a catastrophically failed lending system. Hear me out. The class of 2004, right? People who left college in 2004, graduated, didn't graduate. Their default rate is 40% for their student loans. Now, these people who left school in 2004 were only borrowing 1/3 of what is being borrowed today. So if the default rate for those people was 40%, what do you think it is for more recent borrowers? 50, 60, 70%? Yeah, maybe higher. We don't know. But here's the clincher. Before this current pandemic started, 80%, 4 out of 5, 44 million people were never going to be able to repay their loans. They were either unable to pay at all, and that's about 63%, or they were paying and paying and paying, and their loan balances were going up. That's like 17%. So 80%. And that's all before the pandemic, folks, before the pandemic. So this coronavirus really is the nail in the coffin of the student loan system. It just is. So if you believe those two things I just said, you should be compelled to agree with me that yes, indeed, by every reasonable metric or measure, this is a catastrophically failed lending system. So welcome. We're glad that you found us. As I said, we've been doing this for a long time. For the first 15 years of our existence, we were fighting very moderately for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. Hey, Gordon Wayne Watts has a comment. Dr. Johnson now says 85%. Oh, well, that's really interesting. Wayne Johnson is the Trump appointee who ran the federal lending system before resigning and going back to Georgia and launching a bid for Senate. Unfortunately, he pulled out of the race for Senate, but we're asking everybody in Georgia to vote for Wayne Johnson anyways. It's very rare that we can support a Republican. But that's interesting because I spoke to Wayne Johnson in, I think, March, right as the pandemic was beginning to take hold, and he told me that was 80%. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if that had gone up to 85, maybe even 90%. But really, right now during the pandemic, 100% of everybody nearly are not paying on their loans. So those statistics go. Those statistics are a little bit out the window right now. So yeah, folks, it's a failed lending system, and unfortunately, there really are only two options. And for the first 15 years of our existence, we were fighting very moderately for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But the fact of the matter is, not having bankruptcy protections is what caused this lending system to become weaponized against the citizens. The founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Robert Morris, many others, were being absolutely skewered. They were being robbed under predatory debt to the king, King George, I think it was. So it should come as no surprise that when these men ratified the Constitution, you will see the call for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution, not the Bill of Rights, in the body of the Constitution itself. And you'll see it placed ahead of the call for an army, ahead of the call for a navy, ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to coin currency in Article 1, Section 8. So bankruptcy is really important. We were fighting for it for many years. But I'm here to tell you, because this is now a catastrophically failed lending system, the loans have got to be canceled at this point. Canceled. We could return bankruptcy protections tomorrow, and all that would do is usher 10, 15, 20 million or more people into bankruptcy. Now, what kind of a country does that? What kind of a country bankrupts the majority of its best and brightest. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I think the window for bankruptcy is now closed. And the only option left is cancellation of the loans. Call it a jubilee, call it a reset, call it euthanasia, you call it whatever you want, but these loans have got to go. They are a national threat at this point. Which brings me to the point of tonight's live stream. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments like Gordon, feel free to throw them out. But tonight's topic is why Joe Biden's student loan plan sucks. I would say why his student loan plan sucks so much. And I know that sounds, for all of you blue no matter who people out there, I respect your position, but you might not want to try and take the other side of this issue against me on this. But whatever, actually go ahead if you want to try. Let's have that debate. I look forward to it. So what is Joe Biden? Now, first of all, I should probably back up and say President Trump has nothing, nada. He's been a disaster on student loans for his entire presidency, and all indications, and I hope this changes by the election. In fact, I hope this changes by like Sunday if President Trump wants to have any chance to win this election, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So President Trump sucks on this issue, but Joe Biden's plan, although it sounds pretty good, it actually sucks. Like, pretty much as bad as President Trump's plan, which is almost virtually non-existent. So hear me out on this, folks. What is Joe Biden promising? Okay, Joe Biden is pledging, at last read, he's pledging to cancel $10,000 for all federal student loan borrowers. He made a pledge back in April that he never put into his plan, but people are blowing it up all over the media, saying that he wants to cancel all student loans for people who went to undergraduate public colleges. And I'll get back to all those things. Now, and Joe Biden, to his great credit, also says that he's adopting Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan. And if you look on his website, indeed, he copied and pasted 5 bullet points from Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan, which included the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. So you might think, Alan, that's not nothing. That's not nothing. That sounds like something. And, if I didn't know any better, I would agree with you. The minimum threshold that this group set for endorsing a candidate was that they would pledge to return bankruptcy protections to student loans by executive order. And so, given what I just said, right, we should be endorsing Joe Biden, right? No. Not at all. Not by a long shot. We've been doing this for 15 years, folks, and we have read and gone through so much language put out by the student loan swamp. We know all the tricks, the dodges, the misleading statements. We know how to read between the lines. Let's just put it that way. And here's the first thing you need to know about first of all about Joe Biden's cancellation plan. Everything Joe Biden is saying about loan cancellation depends upon Congress passing legislation which finds a way to raise money to pay for loan cancellation. And by the way, this was also true for Bernie Sanders, for Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and others. But you need to listen to me very carefully. In order to cancel $1 in student loan debt, if you go through Congress, you have to raise $1 to pay for that loan cancellation. Now, that is just asinine and ridiculous on the face of it. The federal government owns 85% of all student loan debt. Outright, they directly own it. The taxpayers already paid for these loans. They shouldn't need to pay twice. And oh, by the way, they shouldn't need to pay whatever they originally paid, plus interest, plus penalties, etc., etc., etc. In fact, of the $1.5 trillion outstanding student loan debt, and that's just the federal portfolio, my best estimate is that less than a third of that is actual unpaid principal. Most of that is interest and penalties and fees that were all got wrapped up into a new consolidation loan or whatever. So, yeah, these congressional pay-go rules require that if we want to cancel $1.5 trillion in federal student loan debt, we have to raise $1.5 trillion to pay for that loan cancellation. And indeed, Joe Biden says, yeah, and I'm going to pay for it by repealing the capital gains tax. And Elizabeth Warren says, yeah, I'm going to pay for it by doing some other tax. And Bernie Sanders is going to pay for it by doing this tax. Guys, that is nonsense. The president has all the executive authority they need, and the Secretary of Education, under the Higher Education Act as amended of 1965, to waive, cancel, release, get rid of, forgive, if you want to use that word, but really I think cancel is a better word, although legally we might want to call it forgiveness for tax purposes, but whatever. The president can cancel all the loans that the government owns directly by executive order. And he can do it, he or she, or this president or the next, any president, can do it without needing to raise one dime of money from Congress, without needing to write one check for 1 penny. In fact, no money would even change hands. The loans would simply be canceled. So you don't need to pay for this loan cancellation. Taxpayers already paid, don't need to pay twice. And by the way, the president can do this without adding one dime to the national debt. You know, we're in the process of loaning out something like $1 trillion when all is said and done in these PPP loans, right? Because of the pandemic. All these businesses are getting PPP loans, and as long as they use the money to pay their employees or whatever, then they don't have to pay the loans back. So there's a precedent. But you know, all of those PPP loans, $1 trillion, whatever it's going to wind up being, that will all add to the national debt. And it has. And I think we've already added like 300 or 400 billion, but whatever. So if we want to actually stimulate the economy in a really easy, expedient, cheap way, canceling these loans, these student loans, these federal student loans, 85% of all student debt, is by far and away the easiest, cheapest, and I would say absolutely most appropriate way to do it. You know, people with student loans are definitionally financially needy, right? Remember when you filled out the FAFSA? What they were doing was determining financial need. So everybody who gets a federal student loan is by definition financially needy. Maybe you're not poor, but whatever. Maybe you're middle class, whatever. The point is, and I also might add, the people who are being hurt worse by this pandemic are younger people, are women, are other economically disadvantaged population groups, many of whom, particularly the younger people, have student loan debt. So this is the low-hanging fruit on the fiscal stimulus tree during this pandemic. Really, if you think about it, they should have done it first. So Joe Biden is not proposing that. Joe Biden is proposing more nonsense. You know, we've already got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 federal loan cancellation plans in place. There's the income-based repayment program. There's the public service loan forgiveness program. There's the pay-as-you-earn program. There's the revised pay-as-you-earn program. There's income-driven repayment. There's income-contingent repayment. On and on and on. And here's the thing that you need to know about all of those loan cancellation programs already in place. They are all failing abysmally. The disqualification rate on all of those programs, for some it's 99%, 99.2%. For others it's like 90 something. It's over 90%. So I will be stunned if even 5 or 10% of the people in the income-based repayment program, for example, make it through. We already know that less than 1% of the people who are trying to get their public service loan forgiveness done, less than 1% are getting through that program. 99% are being disqualified out of the program. And oh, by the way, they're being left owing more. They're being left kicked to the curb, owing far more than when they entered the program in the first place. Because the cruel, dirty little secret that nobody seems to want to talk about is that the Department of Education has no desire and no intentions of canceling any loans. They just don't, folks. So when Joe Biden says, oh, I'm going to cancel loans, it's just not going to happen. His words are not worth the paper they are written on. So that's the first thing you need to know about Joe Biden. The second thing you need to know about Joe Biden, on bankruptcy, go to joebiden.com and read his bankruptcy plan. Go to his little thing with all the boxes with all the policies written on them. Go to the one that says bankruptcy. Well, first of all, go to the one that says life beyond high school and read it and tell me that I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm right. I'm absolutely right on that first point. But go to his bankruptcy plan and read it. And everything that you see about returning bankruptcy to student loans is couched in the context of undoing what was done in 2005. That was the bankruptcy bill that Joe Biden was a very strong moving force behind, by the way. And that legislation, that 2005 legislation, only took bankruptcy away from private student loans. That's like 8% of the entire market. So there's probably, there is more than $2 trillion hanging out there in student loan debt right now. About 1.5 trillion is owned directly by the federal government. Another couple hundred trillion or more is the older style FFLP loans and Perkins loans. All of those are considered to be federal loans. 8%, like maybe 180 billion is my guess, is private student loans. So, and if you have private student loans, that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But Joe Biden is, as best as I can determine, not being sincere when he says he wants to return bankruptcy protection to student loans. And by the way, again, Joe Biden is not saying that he'll do it by executive order. He's relying on Congress. And the one thing that we've learned over the past we've learned many things. One of the things that we've learned most strongly over the past 15 years in running this group is that Congress is unwilling or unable to actually return bankruptcy protections to student loans. And I could write a book about that. In fact, I did. Google the student loan scam, and you can read my book and see for yourself. I'm not going to waste any more time talking about it here. But suffice it to say, Joe Biden is not intending to return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans, which you probably have. He is only talking about private loans, and he's only essentially saying that when Congress brings me the bill, I will sign it into law. I don't think he's saying anything more strongly than that. And I hate to throw incendiary comments around, but folks, we've been doing this for a long time. We've seen Joe Biden in action. We've seen what he says, doesn't say, doesn't do. We've seen the games that he has been playing with the student loan industry. We know, put it this way, guys, I have to say, I'm just going to say it. Joe Biden is a snake. And his student loan proposal is not worth the paper that it is written on. I would almost go so far as to say that if I had to vote tomorrow, if I had to vote either for Trump or Biden tomorrow, I might just vote for Donald Trump just so that this lending system can fail more quickly. It's already failed. It's already a catastrophic failure. But maybe Donald Trump, because he's just an asshole and he's given the keys to the castle he's given the student loan swamp everything they want. And at this point, I have to say maybe that's a good thing, so that the lending system will crash and burn quicker rather than being strung out for another 4 or 8 years under a Biden presidency. But Whatever, guys. We're not doing that. As I said, we set our criteria for what we would need to endorse a presidential candidate. We set that firmly months ago, and that is that the candidate will pledge that as president on day one, they would do an executive order calling on the Department of Education and its contractors to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. That was our low bar for endorsing a candidate. And I am sorry to say, at this late date, with like not even 2 weeks left to go before the election, with probably 40 or 50% of everybody who's going to vote having already voted as we speak, or certainly by the end of the weekend, we can endorse neither candidate, not Joe Biden, not Donald Trump. And believe you me when I say that people at the very highest levels of both the Trump administration, I won't mention any names, but you know these names, and also the Biden campaign, and I will mention names there. Greg Schultz, his campaign manager. I've had many conversations with them. They know very plainly that we need them to make that pledge to return bankruptcy protection to student loans by executive order. That they haven't done it, and that by all appearances they are not going to do it, should speak volumes to you, to what the Biden campaign is actually doing. So we're not doing it. We can't endorse either candidate. The only candidate that we can endorse right now today, and that we have endorsed already, by the way, is Howie Hawkins of the Green Party. Now, we are a nonpartisan group. We're not trying to play the triangulation game. We're not trying to be a spoiler. We're not trying to do any of that. All we're doing is sticking to what we said a long time ago, and we are endorsing the only candidate who has earned our endorsement. So take that for what you want, but that is just the fact. Hey, Gordon also says, let's see here. Biden and Obama never used the Higher Education Act of 1965 to canceling student loans. Bad, very bad. Neither has Trump, but at least he outright forgave, canceled all interest. Yeah, Gordon, don't try and defend Trump. Look, I'm not gonna try and defend Trump, and I'm not gonna defend Obama Biden over those 8 years. There's nothing worth defending. They both were terrible. Under Obama Biden, nothing happened. A lot of hopey changey words. $1 trillion was added onto the backs of the country. Gordon also said, "Boy, Gordon, you got a lot to say tonight, buddy." As I've discussed earlier, Alan is correct. Of course, I'm always correct, Gordon. No, I'm just kidding. But on the student loan issue, it is very rare that we say anything that is incorrect. I will say that. I'll agree with you. The fact that more than 85% will likely never repay their student loans is damning proof that there is illegal price gouging. Department of Justice, where are you? We need student justice. Oh, and the fact that public service loan forgiveness has a 99% failure rate is further proof. Read, memorize, pass on. Yeah, I echo what you say, Gordon. Spread the word about this group right here, by the way, folks. We are the only group in the country who is telling the truth about this issue. We're the only group in the country that I'm aware of that doesn't have some partisan bent. We're not in the tank for any candidates. We're not in the tank for the Green Party. We're endorsing the Green Party because they earned it. We will not endorse any blue no matter who candidate or no red candidate. We don't do that. All we care about is student loans. All we care about is getting true student loan justice. And that used to mean getting bankruptcy protections returned at a minimum. But now it really means the cancellation of all student loans. So I hope that what I've said here tonight, and by the way, one last point. You know, a lot of people say, yeah, Biden's plan isn't the best, but it's a step in the right direction. That statement makes my blood freaking boil. You know, we've been taking little baby steps, little steps in the right direction for the past 15 years. You know, when we started doing this, we owed like $350 billion in student loan debt. $350 billion is not even a drop in the bucket today. We owe over $2 trillion now. This is a nationally threatening lending system. People are committing suicide. People are fleeing the country. 80% of all student loan borrowers are being wrecked. We are being conquered and enslaved. So don't tell me about steps in the right direction. Don't tell me about baby steps forward. Oh, that's bullshit. Don't even bring that up to me. I will tear you down if you do. So, yeah, guys, I hope that you can appreciate the absolute adherence to the truth with which this group proceeds. We do very careful research. We do very careful analysis. None of our predictions have ever been wrong. Almost all of our predictions have not only been right, but they have proven to be very conservative. In other words, we erred on the low side, and reality turned out to be on the high side. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's true. So, okay, folks, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is we've got a week left at most before either President Trump is going to cancel these loans or Biden is going to pledge to cancel the loans by executive order, because remember, it ain't going to happen through Congress. All that stuff they say, you may as well just throw it out the window because it's garbage. Got a week left, and what you sitting there, what you do between now and I'd say November 3rd, but really what you do this weekend really probably will tell the tale, because it's going to be, after Monday or Tuesday, it's going to be too late. Too many votes will have been cast. So, and look over there. There's two things that we're asking everybody to do right now. Number one, very easy. Go to our article at medium.com, give it a clap, or if Gordon's correct, maybe you can even give it 50 claps. I don't know. But get that sucker rolling around. Not only clap it, but paste the link to this article everywhere you can where the president or his people are likely to see it. So go to whitehouse.gov. Go to twitter.com/real Donald Trump. Tweet it to him. Go to Kayleigh McEnany's Twitter. Go to Steve Mnuchin's Twitter. Go to Ivanka Trump's Twitter. Go to Jared Kushner's Twitter. That's actually a very important one. I can't say why, but it is. Get that article to the Trump people by whatever means necessary. They could pull an October surprise, the likes of which this country has never seen before. It would be huge. It would be beyond historic. It could happen. Similarly, Joe Biden could come around. The Biden campaign could start feeling the heat and being like, you know what? Of course we should cancel these loans. This is the most if not now, the next president for sure is going to have to cancel these loans. The lending system is toast. It's done. So why not get the credit for it now, before the election, rather than later when there's no votes hanging on it? There are 55 million votes hanging on it now, so don't forget that. And Gordon very courteously posted the link to the whitehouse.gov contact webpage. So do that. It will help. And the final thing I'll say is just push the crap out of our petition. Change.org/cancel student loans. Very easy. We've got 734 almost thousand signatures now. We could get up to 1 million by Monday. We could have if everybody added 2 people who already signed, if everybody who signed added 2 people to the petition, like that even could be your parents if they're alive, right? I don't think my parents are not alive, unfortunately. And others, I know that's tough. I'm sorry for your loss. But those whose parents are alive, call them up and say, Mom, Dad, don't even think about it. Just do this. Just sign this petition. And chances are, if they read it and if they're thoughtful, serious people, they'll agree with it. So, but if that happened, we would have over 2 million people on our petition. And that would work wonders with the media. You know, even having less than 1 million signatures, we've already gotten featured on Newsweek, on Fox Business News, and we even made the ticker on Fox News, like the ticker. Heavy.com, Yahoo News. We've got gotten profiled on dozens and dozens of local television stations as well. So we've gotten a lot of media, guys. I mean, we're kicking ass. This group really, truly is where it's at, by the way. I know I don't give the appearance of being like a big deal, but we actually are a very big deal, just in case you didn't know. Google us, by the way, and you can see. This group is actually I would say, nationally and potentially historically significant movement that you have found, that you have stumbled onto here. So be proud of that fact. But more than being proud and definitely don't thank us. Don't thank us for everything that we do. People do that quite often. But I say don't thank me. If you want to thank us and the people, the pioneers in this group who have done the heavy legwork up to this point, you can thank us by doing the work necessary to get this problem solved. And that means all the stuff that I've been saying over the past 4 minutes. Getting the article around. Getting at least 2 people to sign that petition. You know, if you really want to do something this weekend, you would paste the link to that petition in 250 places. All over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, tweeting it to famous people. You would just be obsessed with getting the link to this petition around over the next 2 days. That would help. And that is better than any thanks you could possibly give me or Gordon or our 50 state chapter leaders or any of the hundreds or even thousands of people who have really been working hard on this over the past few months. So do that, please. This is, if you haven't noticed, this is not a watch it happen movement. This is a make it happen struggle. So these are your loans. This is your problem. We can easily and quickly solve this problem when you step up and join us in doing the work, and it's not hard work, but it is work, necessary to get these loans gone. And the quicker you do that, the quicker we'll finish. So get on it. Good luck. Godspeed. And God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. And keep checking back here every day between now and the election. Keep checking back here on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/SLJ group, or wherever you may be hanging out. YouTube is fine as well. Okay, guys, God bless.